Hello and welcome to my first movie video of this YouTube channel. I'm not really sure what this channel is going to be exactly, just a mixture of movie reviews, thoughts, maybe a video essay here and there. I don't really know yet, I'm just getting this started. And I'm starting out with the movie Barbie, because why not? What better weekend than Barbenheimer weekend to kick this channel off? And I'll be seeing Oppenheimer next week with the IMAX theater that I wanted to see it in, because tickets were just always sold out, like 10 a.m., 10 p.m., every time they were sold out. And I'll be talking about that later on, but this video is about Barbie, which I've already seen twice actually, and which I recommend seeing in as packed a theater as possible to get the best reaction. If you're not seeing it opening weekend or the second weekend, maybe the third weekend will probably still be packed, honestly. And the second time I saw it, I had some alcohol in my system, and that was a fun way to see it as well. And when I do these videos, because I've worked on some movies and seen the process, I feel like I'm always going to have to give a disclaimer that despite whatever I say, I know that making movies is extremely difficult, and it's truly incredible that anything competent gets made in the first place, with all the departments and gears that have to fall into place perfectly. It's truly a miracle that a movie gets made in many ways. That said, today I will be talking about Barbie, directed by Greta Gerwig and written by Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach. Barbie has probably been the most anticipated movie of the summer, if not the year. I genuinely have not seen this type of hype since Avengers Endgame, and to put it into context, I work near a movie theater right now, and I have not seen this many people dress up for a movie since Star Wars Episode 3's midnight showing back in 2007. And I'm really glad that dressing up for the movies is big again, because it makes it feel fun and like more of an event, which I think the movies should feel like. And I think that's a trend that needs to come back, at least for one movie every year. But the movie itself, I will be giving a non-spoiler review followed by individual spoilers afterwards. Barbie's logline is as follows. Barbie and Ken are having the time of their lives in the colorful and seemingly perfect world of Barbieland. However, when they get a chance to go to the real world, they soon discover the joys and perils of living among humans. Rated PG-13. Now, when I see that logline, and I know the writers are Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach, I know exactly what movie I'm getting into, but more on that later, because I think a lot of people were not expecting what they got. The costuming, makeup, production design, music, and casting are all phenomenal in this film. Margot Robbie fits the role super well, and Ryan Gosling proved everyone wrong that doubted him or said he was too old. He stole the show. His work is always so good, I think, because it's just so honest and truthful. He doesn't ever feel like he's performing like a lot of actors. He's just living in the moment and in such a strong and subtle way. He never pushes it too hard. And he's hilarious in the movie and has a musical number that's probably my favorite scene of the film. But also, I'm a musical guy. The side characters do feel like side characters, with a lot of people relegated to one-note performances. But as Ken and Barbie variants, they probably didn't have a lot of room to really explore. They didn't really have a lot of dialogue, honestly, except for maybe one or two of the other Kens. And the first time I saw this movie, I even felt like Margot Robbie's performance was one note. But upon talking with others about it and seeing it a second time, it makes sense, as she's literally living in a carefree, perfect world at the beginning of the film. And she does end up reaching those depths toward the end. So upon reflection, I don't really see how it could have been played any other way. The standout supporting roles for me were Michael Cera as Alan and Connor Swindles from Sex Education. Greta Gerwig must be a fan of the show, because in Cutie Gatwa and Emma Mackey also play Ken and Barbie variants, though they have very little dialogue in general, and they share one little hug together, so that was just for the fans of Sex Education. They really didn't share any scenes together. But Michael Cera and Connor Swindles, back to them, they nail their comedic beats, while occasionally I feel like Will Ferrell does too. Him and Cera just have this funny thing about them. Cera specifically, he doesn't really have to try too hard. And Will Ferrell just oozes comedy. I want to see him in more movies. He really hasn't done much comedy lately, I feel like, but maybe I haven't been paying attention. Despite Will Ferrell hitting a lot of the comedic beats, sometimes it feels like he's pushing too hard, and some of the other Kens and Barbies occasionally also feel like they're pushing too hard for some of the jokes. That's kind of where the issues come in. Some of the jokes are tonally for children, some for adults, so I feel like that's a writing and direction thing more than necessarily the way the actors were playing it themselves. There's especially a chase scene with Will Ferrell in it that has a lot of childish moments that I feel like didn't work for me. Maybe the little kid kids in the theater will like that one, but it felt a little off for me. Some of the humor lands, but also a lot of it doesn't, and that's where I feel like the tonal issues come in. It's sometimes for little kids, like I said, and sometimes very adult, so it makes it feel really disjointed tonally. That, along with balancing a few plot points involving Barbie's search for Rona, as well as Ken's journey of self-discovery, makes the movie feel all over the place at times. I occasionally was like, what is happening? Where are we going right now? The plot also feels disjointed in addition to the tone. All these plot points didn't feel weaved together like in a Pixar. They almost felt chopped up and placed side by side, if that makes sense. And I just wish they kind of tackled some of the plot points more subtly, but overall, it's still a fun time at the movies with some solid jokes, set pieces, and I think a good message that just could have been delivered a little more subtly, a little more weaved in. Now I'm going to get into slight spoilers, but honestly, there's really not much to spoil. America Ferrera's monologue was great and warranted a couple of cheers in my theater, as were the jokes about men involving the Kens. But somehow during this third act escapade, things just started feeling forced and not built up to for whatever reason. Maybe things just were too on the nose and not weaved in, but maybe that was the point. Maybe Greta Gerwig felt like she has this audience right now. This is the time to get that message out there. There's really not a lot of films that are big blockbusters that deal with women's issues. Most of the time it's men making fun of women or minorities. So I think it's okay that women had this one, honestly. Like, take a joke. Some of the jokes about men were true and funny, I thought. I enjoyed the movie a lot the second time as well. Like, during those moments, the crowd was really fun, and I did have some alcohol in my system, so that helped. And I'm just going to keep rattling off spoilers as they come to me because I don't really know how to structure this yet. It's my first video. I wish we got to spend more fun times in the Barbie world, such as the first and third acts where we have the disco scenes and Ken's musical number, which was phenomenal. Those are my favorite parts of the film, just living in Barbie world's beautiful set and enjoying it with the characters. I especially like Lizzo's song Pink and Billie Eilish's song that plays at the end with all the montage of the family while Barbie was thinking about it. That was so beautiful, and that song accompanied with that video just worked so gloriously. Simu Liu kind of gets lost in the sauce, as did the other Kens and Barbies, which I thought was a little disappointing. I don't really leave the movie remembering them. Kate McKinnon nailed it as Weird Barbie. I don't really have much to say. I like her on SNL, and I thought she did a really good job in this movie. America Ferrera being the owner of the Barbie was almost so telegraphed, I didn't even know if it was supposed to be a twist that she was the owner. When she was drawing the Barbie costumes, I was like, okay, that's the reveal. But apparently that wasn't the reveal, and we didn't know that she was the owner of the Barbie right there, even though I thought it was fairly obvious. Again, Ryan Gosling steals the movie with I'm Just Ken, his musical number. I genuinely think he should be considered for an Oscar nomination because somehow he pulled off this role where I don't even know how you begin to approach it. Everything from his naivete at the beginning to his discovery of masculinity to his final goodbye to Barbie, every scene he nails so well, just the little mannerisms and the subtlety and the big moments. He just knows he knows how to use his range well. The biggest issue with this movie is so much stuff is going on, sometimes it can feel like too much. Like, I don't even remember how America Ferrera's story is resolved. It's kind of just a change of heart by her daughter while they're driving, I think. They kind of just make up out of nowhere. I don't know, it's a lot. And maybe it's the point, but you can feel the writers wrestling with this idea of Barbie as being a good thing, and then also being a bad thing. But by the end, I don't know if I'm supposed to have a newfound respect for Barbie, or think less of it. It doesn't really give an answer, but also maybe it doesn't have to. Good art can be interpreted sometimes, and sometimes art is wrestling with the themes it's trying to explore. It just doesn't know what it wants to be. But again, maybe that's by design. I don't really know how else to make a Barbie movie live action. They could have had the Barbies come to the real world and start solving issues with all the different skills they have, but then maybe the movie would be accused of being too girl power. They could have made it animated and used Barbies like in the Lego movie. I don't know, I'm happy with the movie we got because it's kind of incredible that a movie that's this popular, making this much money, was written by indie directors and feels like almost an indie person's take on this. It's just a cool movie, I think, to have out in the social sphere. And at the end of the day, I got what I expected, but I can see how a lot of people didn't. And finally, I'm going to talk a little bit about the politics because I feel like some people are getting way too wound up in it. I don't know if that's actually a thing, but you see it online. A lot of people with different political beliefs from mine might call this film woke, but I don't think that's true. I mean, to say men don't have the majority of power in society is kind of crazy to me. And art is art, and we are here to see how other people view the world, and we can disagree. But as a film, though, I think the message just could have been explored in a more subtle and ultimately more effective way. Not that the message itself was necessarily bad. And also, men have been making jokes about women and minorities all through the history of film, like I said, so take a joke and let women make fun of you a little bit. I mean, most of these jokes had some truth in them. Masculinity is super weird, like with Rocky and the faux minx, I think it's called, or whatever. And remember, it's a joke in a Barbie movie. If you're offended, maybe you're the snowflake. I don't know. Barbie, rated PG-13, and the kids probably didn't even understand the adult jokes anyway. Also, one more thing, I liked how this movie was in a 2-to-1 aspect ratio. I really like that aspect ratio. I'm glad it's making its way into mainstream cinema. I think it's a good balance of width and height, and maybe that was a choice because 2-to-1 is symmetrical, like Barbie's is supposed to be symmetrical. I don't know, but yeah. I know this review might have been all over the place, but it's my first one, so cut me some slack. And also, this isn't my real accent. I'm not going to mention that ever again, but there it is in this video.